This time, recognize the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Pompeo, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did a little work in the run-up to this hearing to see which of you all had predicted $63 oil on December 11th, 2014. None of you did. You should know, you should count yourself among the many. I couldn't find anyone who did. I saw a few traders who make a claim that they were in the market in the right place. They were on the short side and got to the right spot. And I mention that only because I hear you talking about more data and more information in the hands of government, all that. I think if we unleash markets, glorious things will happen. And so I've heard multiple things today. I've heard folks talk about an export ban lifting. Seems right to me as a good direction. I've heard folks talk about the Jones Act. We have imposed enormous costs on our refiners with the renewable fuel standards. And we've seen a government agency totally incapable of dealing with the transition of what happened in the marketplace there. Can't get a set of rules out to deal and tell folks what to build. I mean, based on some prediction that Congress set, some levels Congress set, as we all as policymakers think about how we're going to handle this, we should not be at all certain that $63 is here for tomorrow, let alone for 2 months or 3 months. No one mentioned the greenhouse gas rules that are about to hit America. No one mentioned CAFE standards that have had such a dramatic impact on our transportation and the uses for them. You mentioned natural gas transportation, Mr. Evans. You said, gosh, if we could get there. I don't know what's standing between us and them. I couldn't tell you. Natural gas prices at prices that you think, gosh, folks would go want to invest. But the truth is you have markets operating in a state of uncertainty trying to get to the right outcome, and we should not have the hubris to think we have any possibility of getting in front of that place. And so as we think about this export ban, I think it's incredibly important that we don't lift an export ban in base because, gosh, today we have certain oil prices that are sitting in the low 60s range. I think we made a mistake in putting in place in the 1970s. And I think that's the kind of thing that policymakers should all consider. I want to ask you, Mr. Szymanski, you did a report just now a month ago on what impacts gasoline prices. The Saudis changed the world here in the last quarter. Does that change how you think about the study that you put out in any material way?
No, I believe that study would probably be still valid in terms of trying to understand what it is that relates the price of gasoline in the U.S. to the global markets for either crude oil or gasoline. Mr. Pompeo, I think that your comment about did EIA predict $63 oil? No, we didn't. I would like to say in my defense.
No defense required.
That we talk every month. We publish something that is actually worth thinking about. I mean, for everybody here, we use the options market for crude oil to work backwards to what the confidence interval is on forecasts for crude oil prices. Sure. And that 6 months ago, that confidence interval got down to the low 60s. So we've hit the bottom of the 95% confidence range. And for the committee here today, I just looked at some numbers. For West Texas Intermediate, the 95% confidence range, will it fall in there, is for April of the coming year is $50 to the low side and about $90 to the high side. And that's telling you that the people who are in those markets,
who have real capital,
they're not really sure either.
Right. Yeah, no, folks with real capital at risk. I want to ask, maybe I'll ask anyone who might want to answer this. I've read lots of articles just recently. They're pop news more than anything else about whether OPEC still exists, right? If it's still the same force that when I was a little bit younger could impact markets in material ways. We've talked about how these markets have changed. Does anybody care? Today want to say that OPEC is dead?
Well, I think market power, let's not talk about market power by some big producers, waxes and wanes. But if you have enough production outside of these other, low cost, high volume producers, their market power gets reduced, and that's what you're seeing now. I mean, the distribution of crude oil outside of these few players, which North America is a big force today, is undermining the capacity of other folks to constrain output and charge higher prices. That's just the reality of it. That's that's a huge benefit of this North American platform. That's why we ought to pay attention to how it performs. Make sure we have a regulatory environment that doesn't hurt it.
Great, thank you. My time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.